Is that it's generally? So look, Neil, this is all it is.
Right.
And the main thing about this is I really don't want to bother you at all. You know, and I certainly don't want to be a pain in your ass about anything. But what it is, I mean, it is ultimately a book. I hope it'd be my next comedy history after a soupy twist. But the main thing is, hang on, why am I whispering? We've got to get this on the camera.
Should we be a bit more like that?
Exactly. Fab Fools, you see, Neil.
Yes.
The point is, there are far too many Beatles books. The Beatles are like a religion to me, and I just stopped buying Beatles books because it's just, there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
But then I realised there's nothing about the Beatles comedy. And the
there
Beatles
should
as
be.
performers.
There
Just
should be.
one thing
Yeah.
that brings it all together.
Yeah.
It just seems crazy that it was like kind of a 3D glasses thing. You suddenly saw the Beatles story through a wholly different filter.
Yeah.
And you see, how many rock bands did panto? You know, the Beatles did panto in the Brian Epstein
They
days.
even did Midsummer Night's Dream on
Exactly.
television. I Am War.
Can you imagine, you know, the Who all dressed up for, you know, well,
No.
certainly not trying Shakespeare anyway. And so it's about 10 years I've been carrying this flame with me now, Neil.
Right.
And I've been going around, I've interviewed Joe McGrath in a dodgy pub in London somewhere. You know Trevor Peacock?
Yes. Well, not well.
Well, but he basically invented like pop TV
Yes.
in the 60s.
Yeah.
And he lives out in Yeovil, so I went and visited him. And it's just, I've been gathering all this stuff for so long. But then other books have come along. I did The Fruit for Douglas Adams, and obviously for Stephen and Hugh now and everything. But this is the book, Fab Fools, is what I've been wanting to do for ages. And the
Fab
thing is,
Fools, folks.
Fab Fools, indeed. And the point is, I think it's obviously the story of it's the X factor that made the Beatles, I think. The fact that they could tell a joke, that they were funny, they were all of that stuff that people haven't. People have written books about them as men and as musicians, but nobody's really done them as comics, as entertainers.
One of the things we discovered at the Sponsos was we met more and more people of their ilk and whatever. I mean, Eric Clapton once said to us, I'm really jealous of you guys. You can go on stage, you can muck around. And I've always wanted to come on stage with a parrot on the shoulder. And
you must have done that at least once, surely.
No, Eric hasn't.
I suppose you couldn't have Adrian Evanson on your shoulder.
But I mean, I said to Eric, you know, this is your own fault. You shouldn't be going around with a perm on a poster saying Clapton is God, you know.
Yes, no.
You're setting yourself up.
I can't even imagine him dressed as a Mountie for.
I like the red noses. The red noses, very.
Well, I think that's actually McCartney.
He did it in Magical Mystery Tour, didn't they?
Yeah, what's his
Wizards.
Stella McCartney, I think.
Oh,
designed
right,
these.
okay.
So that's I shall have to fix that, you know, for comic relief. I think it was done, it was called The Joker Laughs for a while. I was trying to think of Beatlesy phrases that bring it all together. But if you see on the back here, like, I mean, there's you. But obviously, you intersect more than anyone else. You did because you do. Obviously, you were in Magical Mystery Tour, for goodness' sake, and then you became Ron Nasty, and just so many links and everything. So the main thing is, Neil, I don't want to have to ask you any questions you've already answered. That's the main thing, because you've spoken about so much of this on the record, and I don't want to have to bother. You know, it's just like, I'll have to ask you this.
So, am I done then?
No, well, I don't. It's up to you. This is the thing.
But are you doing it now?
Well, I'm just. Publishers keep turning it down. So you know how it is. Crowdfunding.
What?
Exactly. This is one of those crowdfunding things. I'm just trying to gather stuff together that I can then, sometime in the spring, maybe launch. Yeah. And it wouldn't just be a book, I think because it's such a great subject matter. And it's so entertaining. Because what I was going to say is, obviously, you've got the whole Beatles story, but then halfway through, they split up. And then you've got the Rutle story. And the Rutle story has never been done in a book. You know, it's the...
No.
And it's a very, very complex story. I know, you know,
it's not in a way, because the Rutles came about because it was time. You know, the Beatles broke up and broke millions of hearts, and people were sort of depressed. And it seemed like a funny way of doing it would be, you know, to ease some of the pain, you know, because real life happens and things can't work at that level and pressure for so long. And so when we had that silly clip from Rutland Weekend Television and Saturday Night Live, you know, we're running with the gag of, you know, trying to get the Beatles back together again because Sid Bernstein was offering them $20 million and a killer whale each if they got together. And Lorne Michaels was running the gag. You know, got George Harrison on, waved $3,000 in cash in front of him, saying, "All this could be yours, George. Just get the guys back together." And he's saying, acting, going, "Oh, what, all of this for me?" And he said, no, you have to share it with the others. Maybe you don't have to tell Ringo. That kind of joke. So the timing was right, and it took no imagination at all. After we'd shown the clip of the Rutles, you know, Eric Idle couldn't get the Beatles together. It was a bad phone line, you know, but we got the Rutles. The mailbag just went bulging. And so it took him half an hour to go downstairs at NBC and get the budget for All You Need Is Cash.
Which is more than you got for BBC Two as well.
So, well, yeah, of course, yeah. But I mean, no, it was a labour of love, and everybody involved in it knew what to do.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, this is, as I say, it's got all the Saturday Night Live people in this crowd here.
And it does, as you say,
I mean,
linked up with the fact that the Beatles were funny.
I mean, so this is really small type, but this is the quote from John Lennon I've got at the start. Part of me would soon have been a comedian. I just don't have the guts to stand up and do it. But I would love to be in Monty Python rather than the Beatles. And that was the last interview he ever gave. You know, the last interview he gave, he was talking about Fawlty Towers and not the 9 o'clock news and stuff. He was like so into comedy all his life, and they all are. And I mean, and I'd like to take this as far as trying to speak to Paul and Ringo, because I mean, who speaks to Ringo about his life as an entertainer? You know, the Ringo Starr, even Thomas the Tank Engine, all that kind of stuff. He'd probably say no, but I can at least look into it and take it that far. And I think also to make a great Radio 2 documentary. You know, you have to think in that way.
It would make a good podcast, you know, getting people if
bring the whole thing together.
You know, I hear the same with CDs.
No,
people aren't buying CDs anymore; it's all streaming.
You got to,
and it's changed.
I know it's insane.
Well, that's the thing. Ball game.
I'm the last person I know without a podcast at the moment, so it's always kind of dangerous. You just think, oh, but this is a whole world that I can start chronicling now, and on Twitter and all those kind of things. And I think it's going to launch in the spring, and I'm going to get like people like, as well as your good self, Peter Serafinowicz, and Kevin Eldon, who's obsessed he's obsessed with the Beatles.
I'm in the band with Kevin.
And well, are you? Yes. Has he joined the Idiot Bastard band, or is it a different band?
No, it's a different band. It's called the Spammed.
Are you
Scabies on the drums? We just do charity records for the Teenage Cancer Trust.
Oh, that's
We've done about 3 or 4 now. They're great. Kevin is a great singer. He's a great singer.
I've actually tried. Well, we don't have time because you've got to do your sound check. But Bath Comedy Festival every April, I do the music night. I felt that there needed to be a comedy. Comedy music is my life. That's why I'm walking around with this in my pocket. You know. That's mine. No,
but this is rather flash. It's show busy, isn't it?
So I tried to get Kevin across, because we do. I don't know if you heard of Mole's Club. It's quite a famous musical venue here, where the Smiths played and Oasis and people like that. And so we've been doing these comedy music nights, which is like a whole night of lots of talented musical comedians doing their own stuff, but then doing a Rutle song or a Victoria Wood song. Been doing it for years and years and years, mainly for charity. But I thought, it'd be great to have Kevin Eldon join in with that. But so it all sort of come together with this. It's the story of the Beatles, comedy, the story of the Rutles, and as I say, the thing is, you've just been asked these questions a million times, and I've done my research. I've got loads of stuff, and it's really fascinating. So I don't need to have to ask you to do that again. But what would be nice if I go away and do this and make this my life. It's the problem with what I do. Like Fry and Laurie, this becomes my life for at least a year if I do this. At the end, there'll be grey areas, and then I can ask you specific questions and not waste your time.
No,
you know what I mean?
You won't waste my time, because I'm a Beatle fan. I don't like all the silly costumes and things and the hooplas they went through, but the songs were great and they were funny.
But this is
they were really funny.
We try and do Piggies every time that we do one of those shows, because it is just it could be a Not 9 O'Clock News song or a Spit and Image song. It's a brilliant satirical comedy song, and it's written by George, as is Taxman, and everyone talks about John as the comedian of the group.
A lot of people think that George is this sort of rather spiritual person, but he's got a wicked, a very dark sense of humour.
Yeah.
I mean, at home in Friar Park, he's got this big garden, and he goes around checking on things with his little golf cart. And he came into the office one day and said, "Can you get me a photograph of a moray eel?" Yeah, okay, George. He looked at that on Google, printed them off. And it came off on a piece of A4. And he wrote, "That's a moray," and left.
And of course, he loved these as well. He loved George Formby, and that's why George Formby's on the back of there as well. It's just ridiculous. This book could be that big. But as I say, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm sick and to death of publishers missing the point that this has never been done. So that's what it's going to be. It's like I'm going to start work soon, and then in the spring a launch and a bit of our chat and everything.
Well,
we'll go up there.
Include me in. I'll do
bless you.
Whatever I can.
And if we can take it that far, present the Radio 2 show. It'd be great, Neil Innes presents.
All right,
Well, I'm sure they'll pay you. That's the thing. I can't pay you.
I think Adrian told me about a friend of his that said if you work for BBC Radio Comedy all year, you could make £15,000.
Do you know what? That's double what I earn a year anyway.
Oh, come on.
That's why I'm still living where I am. But
you wouldn't qualify as an immigrant then, would you?
I haven't paid tax since I don't know. Hopefully, Soupy Twist will do well enough that I might actually pay some tax. But it's weird to get to this age, and I'm in service to comedy. Should we grab a little bit of a sing-song? This is the only one. I don't know many Rutle songs off by heart.
That's all right.
I've done my own attempts to Rutle Beatles songs, but I won't bore you with those.
Go on then.
But all the world's a stage,
standing with my little ukulele in the wings.
I've seen bearded ladies and strong men with iron bars. I've seen the chorus girls
hobbling with the stars. Yes, all the world's a stage, they say. I've seen many things, standing with my little ukulele in the wings.
There you go.
Less is more. Thank you, folks.
So we shut that in. Lovely. Can I just ask for one more thing, Neil? I'm so happy and proud that you let me do this to you. Just grab something on my phone as well.
Right.
Just literally.
We're going now, and you stupid publishers, you don't know what you're missing. Where's my finger gone?
Right in the middle there.
Oh, yeah.